You were taught the wrong lesson about desire. You were trained to believe that attraction is created by effort, by availability, by emotional transparency, by saying the right things at the right time. You were told that if you listen carefully enough, respond fast enough, explain yourself clearly enough, and show enough interest, something will eventually ignite. But here is the uncomfortable truth most men never confront. Desire does not respond to effort. It responds to presence. And presence is not something you say. It's something your body broadcasts before your mouth ever opens. The mistake is invisible, which is why it keeps repeating. It lives in the way your shoulders subtly collapse when you wait for approval, in the way your voice speeds up when you feel her attention drifting, in the shallow breathing that reveals anxiety before a single word lands, in the eyes that search instead of decide, in the rhythm of your movements, too eager, too light, too reactive. Most men never realize that long before a woman evaluates what they say, her nervous system has already decided how she feels around them. And that decision happens below language, below logic, below intention. This video is not about tricks. It is about exposing the silent mechanism that determines whether desire ever has a chance to exist, and why so many men unknowingly shut it down before it's even born. Before we go any further, let me ask you something directly, and answer it honestly, even if only to yourself. How many times have you felt yourself doing everything right, yet sensed her interest quietly fade without explanation? Drop that experience in the comments, not for validation, but because naming it is the first step to seeing the pattern clearly. Here's what almost no one tells you. Attraction doesn't collapse when you say the wrong thing. It collapses when your inner axis is missing. There is a version of you that tries to connect by adjusting, by mirroring, by softening edges, by explaining intentions so they won't be misunderstood, by proving you're safe, kind, emotionally available. That version believes desire is built through reassurance, but there is another version of you, quieter, heavier, more grounded, that doesn't seek permission to exist, and women feel the difference instantly. The problem isn't that men are too masculine. The problem is that most men are unanchored. They live slightly outside themselves, monitoring reactions, calibrating behavior, waiting for emotional feedback before deciding how to stand, how to speak, how to move. And the body knows this before the mind ever catches up. Your body betrays you when you don't trust yourself. It leans forward instead of standing its ground. It fills silence instead of letting it stretch. It reacts instead of choosing. This is why you can say all the right things and still feel invisible. Because desire does not awaken in comfort. It awakens in tension, not conflict, not drama. But the subtle tension created when a man occupies his own space fully, without apology. Most men misunderstand this and swing to the opposite extreme. They think the answer is distance, coldness, arrogance, emotional shutdown. It isn't. Those are defenses, not foundations. True attraction is not triggered by withdrawal. It's triggered by self-containment. A man who is contained does not rush. He does not leak emotion. He does not over-explain. He does not chase clarity from someone who hasn't earned access to his inner world. And here's the paradox that confuses so many men. A woman may consciously say she wants emotional openness, reassurance, communication, and she means it. But what her nervous system responds to first is direction in posture, direction in speech, direction in decisions, direction in energy. Desire does not ask, is he nice? It asks, can I relax inside his frame? This is why men who try hardest to please often feel the least desired. They are offering comfort without structure, emotion without containment, availability without gravity, and gravity is what pulls. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how some men barely say anything, yet when they do it lands? How their pauses feel intentional instead of awkward, how their stillness feels heavy instead of empty. That is not confidence as a personality trait. That is internal alignment. Alignment means your emotions are not driving your actions. Your actions are grounded in something deeper than the moment. Most men today live reactively. A message excites them. Silence destabilizes them. A cancelled plan throws them off balance. A test triggers explanation. And every reaction sends information, not to her logic, to her instincts. Women don't consciously analyze this. They feel it. They feel when a man is internally stable versus emotionally outsourced. They feel when his center is inside himself versus inside her response. And once that distinction is felt, it is almost impossible to undo. Here is where things get uncomfortable. A man who seeks validation through connection cannot create desire through connection, because desire requires polarity, and polarity requires separation. Not emotional distance, energetic separation. The space between who you are and how she responds. When that space collapses, so does attraction. This is why over-availability feels suffocating even when it's well-intentioned. Why constant reassurance kills mystery. Why explaining yourself too soon drains weight from your words. It's not that she wants to be confused. It's that desire needs room to move, and room only exists when you are not chasing emotional certainty. Here's the shift most men never make. They think attraction is about getting closer, but in the beginning, attraction is about not collapsing inward, holding your ground, holding your rhythm, holding your emotional center even when uncertainty appears. This is not manipulation, it's self-respect. Neuroscience has shown that the human brain is drawn to what feels regulated, grounded, and predictable at a deep level. Not predictable in behavior, but predictable in emotional stability. The nervous system relaxes around someone who does not spike or crash based on external input. And relaxed attention is the gateway to desire. Philosophers understood this long before modern psychology gave it language. Stoic thinkers spoke about the man who governs himself first, because self-governance creates authority without force. Authority is not asserted, it is perceived, and perception begins with the body. Your posture is a statement, your breathing is a signal, your pace is a message. Fast movements communicate urgency. Urgency communicates need. Need dissolves attraction. Stillness communicates certainty. Certainty creates safety. Safety allows desire to surface. Notice how this has nothing to do with lines, tactics, or strategies. It has everything to do with who you are being while nothing is happening. Most men are only calm when things are going well. The moment uncertainty enters, the body tightens, the voice changes, the energy leaks. That is the moment attraction is decided, not when things are smooth, but when they are undefined. A woman watches how you respond to ambiguity, not consciously, instinctively. Do you fill the silence? Do you chase clarity? Do you adjust yourself to stabilize the interaction? Or do you remain centered, letting the moment breathe? The man who can sit inside uncertainty without reaching is the man who leads emotionally. And leadership is deeply attractive because it removes burden. Women do not want to carry emotional direction. They want to feel it already exists. This is why men who are deeply focused on their own mission, purpose, and internal standards often feel effortlessly attractive, not because they are ignoring women, but because their identity is not organized around being chosen. They choose first, and that choice is felt. There is a moment, subtle, almost imperceptible, when a woman decides whether you are someone she leans into or someone she observes from a distance. That moment is rarely about words. It is about weight. Do your words feel light or do they land? Do your movements feel rushed or deliberate? Does your presence expand the space or compress it? This is why two men can say the same sentence and create opposite effects. One sounds like a request, the other sounds like a statement. Same words, different center. Here is the internal transformation that begins everything. The man who tries to attract is oriented outward. The man who is attractive is oriented inward. Not inward as in closed, inward as in rooted. Rooted men don't rush to be understood. They don't fear being misinterpreted. They don't need immediate reciprocity. They speak because they choose to, not because silence feels threatening. And silence is where desire often begins. Because silence creates space, and space allows imagination. And imagination is the birthplace of attraction. When everything about you is immediately accessible, nothing invites pursuit. This doesn't mean playing games, it means living from internal sufficiency. You are not withholding, you are complete, and completeness is rare. Most men give too much, too fast to feel secure, but security cannot be borrowed from someone else's attention. The moment you stop trying to extract emotional reassurance, something shifts. Your body relaxes, your breathing deepens, your voice slows, and that shift is felt before it's understood. Attraction is not logical, it is somatic. It lives in sensation, not explanation, which is why men who intellectualize attraction often miss it entirely. They analyze texts, they dissect responses, they strategize timing. Meanwhile, the real signal is happening underneath, in the body they inhabit every day. This is where the reorientation begins. You stop asking, "What does she want?" and start asking, "Am I solid in myself right now?" You stop performing emotional availability and start embodying emotional regulation. You stop chasing connection and start allowing resonance. And resonance cannot be forced. It emerges when two nervous systems meet and one is clearly more grounded. That grounding invites surrender, not submission, but relaxation. And relaxation is what allows desire to surface without effort. In the next block, we'll go deeper into how this internal shift changes everything: communication, boundaries, attraction, and power. And we'll reveal the core mechanism behind what truly sparks desire in a modern woman, without manipulation, without games, and without losing yourself in the process. For now, let this land. If you felt resistance reading this, that's a sign you're touching something real. If you felt clarity, that's your center waking up. Either way, you're no longer guessing, you're beginning to see. If block 1 cracked the illusion, block 2 sharpens the blade. Because once you understand that desire does not respond to effort, the real question becomes unavoidable. What does it respond to consistently across time, cultures, and modern dynamics? The answer is uncomfortable because it removes excuses. It means attraction is not something you negotiate. It is something you signal, and signals cannot be faked for long. Here is the core shift that separates the man who is tolerated from the man who is desired. The man who is tolerated tries to manage outcomes. The man who is desired manages himself. That difference changes everything. Most men live in micro-reactions. They adjust tone based on her mood. They soften boundaries to avoid friction. They say yes when they mean maybe. They explain when silence would carry more weight, and every adjustment weakens the signal. Not because compromise is wrong, but because self-abandonment is felt instantly. A woman does not need to articulate it. Her nervous system registers it as instability. Stability is not rigidity. Stability is coherence. When your words, posture, timing, and emotional state all point in the same direction, you feel solid. When they don't, you feel negotiable. And desire never negotiates. This is where men confuse dominance with control. Control is outward. Dominance is inward. A dominant man does not need to assert power over others because he is not at war with himself. His emotions do not run his behavior. His impulses do not dictate his decisions. That internal hierarchy, reason above impulse, direction above reaction, creates a masculine frame that women feel immediately. And here is the paradox most men miss. Women test not to challenge you, but to locate you. Tests are not punishments. They are calibrations, a cancelled plan, a delayed response, a teasing comment, a subtle boundary push. Each one asks the same silent question: where is your center? Do you collapse inward and seek reassurance? Do you get reactive and defensive? Do you overcorrect to regain approval? Or do you remain where you are, calm, grounded, unshaken? The answer determines whether desire grows or dissolves. This is why emotional regulation is not optional. It is the foundation. Neuroscience confirms this quietly. Humans are drawn to nervous systems that feel regulated under pressure. Not because of morality, because of survival wiring. A regulated presence signals safety at a primal level. And safety is not comfort. Safety is predictable strength. A woman does not want a man who never feels emotion. She wants a man who can contain emotion. There is a difference. Expression without containment feels chaotic. Containment without expression feels cold. Desire lives in the balance. When you speak from containment, your words carry weight. When you move from containment, your actions feel intentional. When you pause from containment, Silence becomes magnetic instead of awkward. This is why stillness matters more than words. Most men talk too much because silence exposes their lack of center. They fill space to avoid being felt. But when you are grounded, silence works in your favor. It creates tension. It invites curiosity. It allows her imagination to engage, and imagination is where desire lives. A woman does not fall for what she fully understands. She falls for what she feels, but cannot immediately place. Not mystery as a trick, mystery as a byproduct of depth. Depth comes from a life that is not organized around her approval. Here is where purpose enters. A man without direction becomes emotionally expensive. He needs attention to feel real. He needs reassurance to feel stable. A man with direction becomes emotionally economical. He does not demand energy. He offers structure. Purpose does not mean obsession with work. It means having a center of gravity outside of validation. Women feel this immediately. They feel when your life moves forward with or without them, not because you threaten to leave, but because you are already moving. Movement creates polarity. Polarity creates desire. This is why men who do everything right often lose attraction. They place the woman at the center of their emotional universe too early, and when she becomes the sun, you become the satellite. Satellites do not lead, they orbit. Leadership in attraction is not dominance over her. It is sovereignty over yourself. Boundaries are where this becomes visible. A boundary is not a wall. It is a line you do not cross for approval. When you say no calmly, without justification, you communicate value. When you hold your pace instead of matching hers anxiously, you communicate self-respect. When you walk away from misalignment without drama, you communicate strength. Strength does not need explanation. This is why men who over-explain lose power. Explanation is often a plea disguised as clarity. A centered man states he does not convince. Now let's reveal the core mechanism behind desire in a modern woman, the one most men never see clearly. Desire is a response to direction plus restraint. Direction without restraint feels aggressive. Restraint without direction feels weak. Together they create tension. Tension is the engine. When you lead the pace instead of chasing it, when you feel attraction but don't rush to discharge it, when you allow anticipation to build instead of collapsing into immediacy, you are no longer reacting, you are conducting. This is not manipulation. It is emotional discipline. Modern dating culture has destroyed discipline. Instant replies, constant access, endless availability. And with availability comes disposability. Rare things are valued not because they are hidden, but because they are self-contained. A man who can delay gratification signals mastery, and mastery is deeply attractive. This is why women often respond more strongly to your absence than your presence. Not because absence is a tactic, but because absence reveals whether your presence had weight. If you disappear and nothing shifts, there was no gravity. If you disappear and she feels it, the signal was already there. You did not create desire by leaving. You revealed it. This is also why trying to be unforgettable rarely works. Unforgettable men are not trying to be remembered. They are too rooted to perform. Now let's address a common confusion. Being unpredictable is not the same as being unstable. Instability creates anxiety. Unpredictability creates intrigue. The difference is foundation. A man with a strong foundation can express playfulness, edge, humor, firmness, warmth without losing center. A man without foundation swings emotionally. Women are not drawn to chaos. They are drawn to contrast within structure. Your firmness against her fluidity. Your calm against her emotional waves. Your direction against her exploration. This is sexual polarity at its core. Not domination, not submission, complement. This is why always agreeing kills attraction. Agreement removes contrast. Contrast creates charge. A man who stands in his truth without needing permission generates polarity naturally. And when polarity exists, desire has oxygen. Let's make this practical without turning it into a tutorial. Imagine two men hearing the same sentence from a woman. I'm not sure what I want right now. One hears danger. He rushes to reassure, explain, fix, convince. The other hears information. He acknowledges calmly, and remains where he is. Same words. Different outcomes. Why? Because one man is trying to secure the outcome, the other is secure in himself. Security is contagious. Now the payoff, the truth behind the title. What truly sparks desire in a modern woman is not effort, availability, or emotional display. It is a man who regulates himself under uncertainty, leads without forcing, speaks without leaking need, holds boundaries without hostility, moves with direction instead of urgency. This creates a feeling she cannot rationalize but cannot ignore. It is not manipulation, it is alignment. When your inner world is ordered, your outer interactions feel safe and charged at the same time. That combination is rare, and rarity creates value. Here is the final transformation. The anxious man tries to be chosen. The centered man chooses. The reactive man explains. The grounded man states. The man who asks receives resistance. The man who embodies receives interest. This is the shift from chasing desire to becoming its source. And once that shift happens, everything slows down. Your words land heavier. Your silence feels intentional. Your presence changes the emotional temperature of the room. You no longer wonder what she feels. You feel where you are. And that clarity is power. If there is a method, a system, a code behind all of this, it is simple but not easy. Self-mastery before connection. Direction before disclosure. Presence before pursuit. That is the reprogramming most men avoid because it requires responsibility instead of tactics. But responsibility is attractive because it signals a man who can carry weight, emotional, psychological, relational. And that is what modern women are responding to beneath the noise, beneath the words, beneath the contradictions. They are not looking for perfection, they are looking for center. So the real question is no longer how to spark desire in her. It is this: are you living in a way that creates gravity, or are you still orbiting approval? From this point forward, the difference is not what you do. It is who you are when nothing is happening. That is where desire is decided.